Hi there. My name is Lisa Snyder. I am the co-founder and chief innovation officer of Tokeativity. We are the global feminist community for active cannabis culture. And this amazing community of 58,000 active cannabis consumers and business owners from around the world believe in cannabis normalization, equity, and an empowerment of a modern consumption culture. We connect with each other through creative, social, and political intersectional feminist forward activities and creative campaigns that work to create radical positive change. You can join us for free at some of our upcoming events. Check out our calendar. We have everything posted through June 2022. All 21 plus welcome. They're all digital as of this moment. And you can check it out at tokeativity.com/events. I am so excited to join you live today. Greetings, everybody who is here. Hello, Growing Ganja Mama, Peace Love Cannabis, Mary Puzzles, The Real Jenny Welsh, Penelope, Cass 420 Hood Collective, welcome. I have a special guest that's going to be joining me today. Hiya! Let me know where you're tapping in from today. I'm here in Portland, Oregon. I'm originally from the East Coast. I was born on Long Island and moved to Jersey when I was 5, but I always had New York City in my daily life. My dad worked for CBS television, and so I had an amazing behind the scenes of so many incredible shows and incredible New York City experiences. And my special guest today is going to be joining us from New York. Ganja, the Growing Ganja Mama, Callie baby, what's up? What's up, Callie? I'm currently in Portland, Oregon, and I'm really excited for our special guest from New York City today. So, I think we've got 2 guests, perhaps. Well, we're going to start with my special guest, Sasha Perelman. She is the co-founder of the Stone Age. And if you don't know about the Stone Age, I was so excited to find out about this. It is the first and only immersive cannabis-inspired experience in New York City. And as someone who's born and raised in New York and is now working in cannabis, specifically in cannabis experiences, the idea of this was so incredibly exciting to me. So Sasha Perelman is here with me today. She is a badass visionary, producer, and thought leader who is deeply passionate about fostering human connections and community. She also has over 20 years experience specializing in innovative engagements for clients and global brands across multiple industries. Rolling Stone called her premier cannabis event in California the best pop party in California. So, so excited to have her with me. I'm going to add her to our little digital stage here.
Hi.
Hey, Sasha.
Hi. I think this might be my first IG live, so forgive me if I have no idea what I'm doing.
It's all good. I'm so excited that I'm like part of your first Instagram live experience.
Yeah, me too. What better person than you to do it with?
Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm so excited to see you and to share about the Stone Age with everybody who's watching live and everybody who's going to watch this afterwards. So, I'm so excited we got a chance to meet for the first time this week. You're a badass like event producer. We're badass event producers having different kinds of experiences. We have so much in common there, but tell us a little bit about the Stone Age and how the idea came about.
Yeah, well, we're actually live here at the Stone Age. So in addition to telling you all about it, I'm also going to be taking you through a couple of sneak peek previews of the space and hopefully getting everyone out here to definitely check it out for themselves. But my business partner, Liz Santana, and I created the Stone Age really based on a couple of factors. One is helping cultivate conscious consumerism and really educating people on the efficacy of plant medicine and helping them understand that there's way more to cannabis than smoking weed and getting high, although that is definitely like a humongous asset to the plant, that it is really a source of wellness and it is a catalyst for really profound conversations that we should be having as a society. So as experienced producers, mainly in the CPG space, we decided that it would be really great to bring our experience and our knowledge and our passion for the industry into a space where people can not only, be immersed in education, in artistry, in these really vibrant activations, but walk away feeling really inspired and transformed.
I love going to a space, and I know it sounds like you do too, where you leave feeling different, right? Like that's something that we strive for with all of our Tokeativity events, when they were in person and now with the online spaces. Like we want people to feel different than what they did when they arrived. And so that's part of the experiential experience of like setting something up so that, you're absorbing information and things through your eyes and ears. And being in the physical is so different than the digital. And obviously COVID has really thrown us all for a loop. So this is so exciting. So tell us, so in New York City on Avenue of the Americas, you have this physical space and this installation. Walk us through the installation a little bit. I know there's different sections of the installation or different experiences. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're in a 10,000 square foot property in the heart of Chelsea, Manhattan, which is really such a blessing. And being a New Yorker, it's really doing something in New York is very, very cool because our spectrum of an audience is so diverse. And let's face it, New York City is really the epicenter of the world. And so when creating the Stone Age, we wanted to build something that was relatable to mass market. So not everyone has a relationship with cannabis yet. And the idea for us was, let's structure it around states of being. States of being are shared, universally human experiences, regardless of your relationship with the plant. So we structured it through several states of being, 8 to be precise. You start in a state of enlightenment, really taking you off the busy New York City streets and bringing you into the Stone Age. From there, we go into the state of arousal. From arousal, we move into creativity, euphoria, mindfulness, pain, and awareness. And I'll take you through some of the spaces today too, so you can get a little bit of a sneak peek. The perks of live recording, and so that, the idea of the states of being is really, those are kind of the pillars of the space. And within each of these states of being, there's a weave of cannabis education woven throughout, right? So there's these small educational touch points that really help tie, okay, why cannabis and arousal? Why cannabis and creativity? Why cannabis and awareness? Because really, if you kind of zoom out the lens, you see that cannabis is a part of a lifestyle, if you so choose for it to be. And it's a part of wellness, and it's a part of us as a society having really important conversations. Sexual wellness in particular is an area where we focus on because there's a lot of shame around sex and our culture. And the reality is everyone's doing it, and there's a lot of shame around cannabis and consumption, but a lot of people are doing it. So it's time to come out of the closet and talk about it as adults and, as people that are really owning it. And the less shame we have on it and the more we talk about it, the more we're able to create progress as a society.
Thank you for sharing about that. You said that you're there physically. Do you want to give us a little tour, a little behind the scenes?
I would love to. Can I need to figure out, can I turn my camera around, or is it just kind of like a selfie
thing? You should
be
able to. How you do that, I'm not really sure.
Sorry, clearly I am. What I might do is maybe I'm going to grab one of my amazing brand ambassadors. Hi, so this is one of our TSA change agents. Introduce yourself to the group.
Hi, I'm Jake. Nice to meet you guys.
So Jake, hello. Can you take us through? I have no idea how to flip the camera because clearly I am 100 years old. But
right
there we go. Awesome. See?
All right.
Ask the millennials. So so your first touch point once you come up is this extraordinary, beautiful first botanical installation. This was created by a female-founded botanical artist and company called Larkspur Botanicals out of New Jersey. And Lindsay is really amazing. So all of the foliage you see throughout the space, so there's a combination of dry hemp leaves, of eucalyptus, of rosemary, and this is kind of sprinkled throughout the space.
Is that a live plant, or they're dry? They're all dried.
Some of them are live and some of them are faux, just because of the longevity of the exhibit, you know, and the maintenance of it. But a lot of this is actually dried, you know, formerly living plants. You know, there's moss, there's names of plants I don't know how to pronounce, which I probably should. And so one of our first art pieces here is this is a mural that was created by two local New York City artists, Natasha Platt and Adam Fu. So all of the artwork that you see in the space, it's all custom. You know, we gave the artists a challenge to create something that really evokes their relationship with the plant. And so this collaboration was a really cool one because Adam Fu, you see the what looks to be neon is actually flat spray paint, and the way that he does it is so unique and makes it look almost like it's 3D neon lettering. But
how did you find the artists to do these installations?
Yeah, so Anna Seibel, who is our creative director, and I call her a creative puppet master, she also is a muralist and an artist. So she was very instrumental in corralling a vast majority of the artists that you'll see throughout the space, including her piece, which we'll see through the arousal section. And it's really cool because all of the artists have a very unique relationship with cannabis. And so really giving them the, you know, carte blanche to create something that spoke to what it means to them. And so some of so like here you'll see kind of these little educational touch points sprinkled throughout. And the idea really is to not overwhelm people with content, because we know attention spans are super small. So we want to give people, you know, like very bite-sized bits of information. So why here, why now? It's really, you know, destigmatizing, breaking the cycle of people's perception of cannabis to really understand that this is focused on a lot more than just smoking weed and getting high. So this is our first stage of being, arousal. And arousal is, you know, again, our sort of ode to the idea of sexual wellness and the, you know, educational touch points. So we know that cannabis helps enhance pleasure. Pleasure is a very unique experience for everybody. And arousal is split into 4 stages. So the first stage that we're standing in right now is arousal. And the idea of this pendulum is really kind of emulating this idea of anticipation, where it's barely grazing the matches, just sort of starting to cultivate that spark up and down the stairs. And then, you know, again, everything is an artistic interpretation. So the idea is for everyone to have their own unique experience. And as we move out of anticipation, we come into excitement. And excitement, this is Anna's piece, actually, and it's a little hard to see on IG Live. But the idea of excitement is this is really where the heart starts beating, the pupils start dilating, the juices start flowing. And so everything in this particular room is really cool because it all has kind of subdued messaging. So she did some really clever things in here. One is this play on the ropes. So as we know, hemp is the world's strongest fiber. It was also used to create rope before Prohibition started. So she used hemp rope to create this sense of tension in the body as excitement builds, and also to play off of this idea of weaving cannabis throughout the space. Are we still there?
Yep. Yes.
As we walk out of excitement, we step into plateau. And plateau is really cool because it's an immersive moment where you're surrounded with these really amazing, beautiful black and white images of people, of nature, of smoke billowing. And plateau is really the stage of arousal that people think plateau and they think flat line, but actually plateau is the precipice of what happens in that ultimate culmination of arousal, of pleasure. And so no matter where you stand, you can look up at the ceiling. It's reflected on the ceiling. It's reflected behind you, below you. So it's really this 360 kind of immersive moment. And then coming out of plateau, we come into, and it's really hard to see because it's super dark, but we come into the ultimate magical moment where pleasure and bliss meet, and we surrender to that bliss, whatever that looks like for us. You know, again, it's all an individual experience. And this culminates in this moment. This is a really incredible light sculpture made by a local artist in Brooklyn named Jason Krugman. And the idea of this sculpture is that it dims and it brightens. And it's really to emulate that moment of recovery, of when your body is like at the very tippy top, you know, whatever your experience happening, and then kind of that coming back down into your body, starting to catch your breath and really starting to like relish in that moment. And then the next area is creativity. So again, it's, you know, much better in person than it is on video just because of all of the really but creativity is all of the art in here done by a local muralist named Bianca Romero. So she really took the idea of creativity being a mind, body, soul experience. So, you know, how cannabis helps us think outside of the box. It helps us unlock thoughts. It helps us really shift our perception. So where we may get stuck in a thought and not have a creative outlet, cannabis really helps induce creativity. And so throughout this moment here, we have an interactive little paint screen. So as you move your body, it kind of follows you along the screen.
That is really cool.
Along the floor.
You know, what's really interesting is, you know, when we were talking the other day, we talked a little bit about Meow Wolf. And Samantha and I actually just went to the Vegas installation for the first time, and it was, you know, it is an immersive experience, and you walk through all these places, and it's so cool because you're in your regular life, but you're like also taken somewhere completely different, and that's what art does. You know, an immersive experience like this does.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my favorite parts about creativity, just because I'm a huge DJ and music buff, is we have this interactive DJ booth, and every time you push a button, it starts to layer music. So you can kind of hear the bass.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And every button, it's a little hard for me because I'm holding my phone, but. And so you kind of have the lights flashing around the artwork, you know, this idea of like play, be free.
That's really,
and
really
again,
cool.
You know, these really bite-sized educational moments to just help you understand, like, okay, what's the tie-in, right? So while cannabis isn't the source of inspiration, it influences the mental process to really help think outside the box, to really cultivate new ideas. And so without giving too much away, so we have the states of being, and then sprinkled throughout the interior of the space, we have these moments of what I call the ABCs of cannabis. So we talk about strains, we talk about the different consumption modalities, right? Because people think like cannabis, oh, smoking weed and getting high, but it's more than that, right? Like I microdose edibles to help with my anxiety. We have again, I know you can't pick favorites, but one of my favorite moments is terpenes. So terpenes is really dope because this is another feature of this botanical chandelier. And as you kind of walk through it, you're like almost in this enchanted terpene garden. that has lavender and lemons and apples and different representations of the terpene profiles. And what's really cool is, like we encourage everybody to wear masks and stuff, but, you can actually smell the hops, you can smell the lavender, bringing light to like, what's the difference between marijuana and hemp, which is a question that is often asked. So helping sort of, again, like dismantle some of these conversations into really bite-sized nuggets of information.
Speaking of dismantling these ideas and like sparking conversations, how are you, or how is the Stone Age addressing the war on drugs and creating accessibility for people, everyday people, to understand how that has affected everything that happened before today?
Well, it's funny that you should say that, because it's almost like you knew I was going into our next the last state of being I wanted to kind of quickly walk you through, and this is not by any means the whole experience, but some of the ones that I thought would be a lot really compelling for people to see is awareness. So awareness for us was the space where we really talk about the impact that the war on drugs has had, particularly in communities of color, but on mass incarceration and criminal justice reform, right? So we would be remiss to have and produce something in the cannabis space without bringing awareness to this. And we did it in a way that we really hoped would evoke empathy and really cultivate emotion in people. So there's multiple things happening in here. The first is, sorry, I'm just figuring out how to continuously turn my thing.
You're doing great.
So this is awareness. So what we've done here is we have a timeline on the war on drugs, and we speak to what is the war on drugs. And yeah, a lot of people know what it is, and a lot of people don't. And so in our partnership with the Last Prisoner Project, which is a really amazing nonprofit organization that works in criminal justice reform, specifically focused around cannabis, we picked several milestones throughout the war on drugs to really highlight not just what happened, but the racial injustices of those happenings, and how really the acts were based on like racist actions rather than really like trying to diffuse the fact that drugs were being a hindrance on society, right? The other component of this is we actually have several original pieces that were created by system impacted men and women. And these pieces not only tell stories through the art and through the poetry and the creative writings, but it's an opportunity to really highlight these individuals as human beings. Oftentimes people think that if you're in prison, you're a deviant. And actually, a vast majority of people sitting in prison have been victimized. And the system was created in a way that doesn't allow you to really get out of it. And the more attention we can bring to not only humanizing the victims of the war on drugs and telling their stories, but helping people understand what is the privatized prison system, how is it impacting, our society as a whole, and getting them talking. And then what we've done throughout the space as well is we have some QR codes, and these QR codes will link you to petitions, will get you to donate to LPP, will link you to the Criminal Injustice, Cannabis, and Rise of the Carceral State papers that were written by the executive director of LPP to really help, you understand what was the impact of the war on drugs and how is this to date impacting us as a society. And then as we walk further into the space, this is an amazing mural that was done by an artist named Maya Sanders. And the idea here is to really look in his eyes, see the pain, but also see the hope that one day, there will be progress. One day, there will be hopefulness. And the idea here was to really like take a step in his shoes. And so what we've designed is, an artistic interpretation of what it's like to be, to serve time in prison. So this is meant to serve as the prison yard, really bare bone. the tick marks on the wall are meant to symbolize the amount of time that goes by. For some people it's days, for some people it's weeks, and for some people it's lifetimes. And then moving into the actual bare bone prison cell, where they spend 20 plus hours a day, where they go to the bathroom, where they sleep, where they write their letters, where, you know, there is no sense of this is how human beings should be treated or should exist. This sculpture that you see here in the corner is made by an artist named Distort out of Jersey City. Disto was also formerly incarcerated as a result of cannabis, and the pieces that you see in the sculpture, they're actual body parts that were casted from formerly incarcerated individuals. And so the idea here of the sculpture is, as you're sitting, you know, in the waiting room talking to your loved one, you know, the idea is like this longing to be free, and that regardless of who you are, you too can be on the other side of this screen. You know, that this disproportionately impacts people of color, but the idea is that, you know, like, people are going to prison for cannabis. And one of the poems in the spaces, in the space here, the one on the three pillars, is the story of someone from Jersey City who after work was having, you know, a tough day, decided to light a joint to calm his nerves, and immediately was, you know, the cops came, pulled up behind him, put him in handcuffs, and threw him in jail. And now he has a criminal record as a result of trying to calm his nerves using plant medicine. And how many people, you know, are trying to find alternatives to alcohol, to narcotics, to hard drugs through cannabis, and are serving sometimes lifetime sentences. And so this here is a wheat pasting done by Anna and Disto, again, like speaking to some of the facts around the impact of the war on drugs, and, you know, finally kind of culminating in our gift shop here. And the
Can we
gift
pause
shop,
for 1 second before
yeah,
we go to the gift shop? I want to
absolutely.
go back to the Last Prisoner Project and people being incarcerated, you know, who have really suffered. We have worked with the Last Prisoner Project. In fact, one of our members, Sarah, is a pro bono lawyer for the Last Prisoner Project, and recently wrote us about a specific woman that she's working with pro bono. Her name is Juanita Maria Kinsey, and she married a generational grower from Mendo and had a baby, and they took a road trip and they had to have 50 pounds of flour with them. And basically she got caught with her husband and had her baby behind bars. And there's a GoFundMe for them that we're going to be sharing about. Kiara's writing a blog post for us, and it's stories like these that we need to share, and it's the real people who are wounded, that we need to be paying attention. Like, now that we're all enjoying legal cannabis, we need to make sure that every single person gets that was there for cannabis crimes. So I really wanted to take a moment there and shout that out and call attention to that, because it's part of our work behind the scenes. We're all enjoying ourselves in legal state and being able to enjoy beautiful art exhibits and these experiences, but also we need to bring the people who are left behind along with us, so that they could be enjoying their lives like we are.
We 1000% agree, and that is why it was so important for us to really dedicate, you know, such a large footprint to this conversation, because, you know, until my work in in criminal justice reform, I really had no idea the extent to which the privatized prison system you know, played such a role, and the role that the war on drugs has played to really like capitalize on that. And when I stepped foot into a prison for the first time and I started to meet some of these individuals and just hear their stories, it shook me to the core, because I had no idea that, you know, these 4x8 cells that are usually shared by two people with no windows, with a toilet, with a sink, you know, like below bare minimum of human needs, And the fact that like people are existing like this, the fact that this is, like we're not paying enough attention to this, that this is something that, we can't fault people for not knowing what they don't know. But we also, as thought leaders and as change agents in this world, have a responsibility to cultivate this conversation. And oftentimes that conversation can be cultivated through art, through experiences, through music, through programming. And that's really, the intentionality here. One of the things it's interesting because so one of our partners, Her Highness, which is a female founded and female focused cannabis brand, one of the things I really love about them, aside from their extraordinary products, is that they have, in partnership with LPP, they've highlighted the story of 3 women who have been impacted as a result of, cannabis convictions. And a point that they made that I guess I had never paid attention to was that it's very seldom of the men that are told. And so I thought that that was really interesting. And so one of the things that we integrated in here was actually telling the story of some of these women. So we have in partnership with them, again, these like QR codes that can be scanned in real time, but telling the story of the women that this impacts. And so we have a product available in the gift shop. 50% of the proceeds of those items go directly to LPP. Again, LPP is really extraordinary at telling the stories and really helping provide the legal consult and, really get these people not just out of prison, but also help rehabilitate, because the rehabilitation process is so abysmal that people, the recidivism rates are extraordinary. People will likely go back to prison after getting out of prison because they're not given the tools to succeed.
Right. And also, the law in many states makes it illegal for anybody that has, anything on the record, including cannabis, to become a part of the cannabis industry. And that's totally ass backwards.
Agreed. But, it's, again, I think there's something very empowering about simplifying the conversation, because the conversation is so multi-layered and we can sit here for multiple hours talking about how fucked up it is. But I think that what becomes empowering to people is not only giving them the information and helping them get involved in real time through very simple acts, but it's also creating this sense of empathy, right? It's taking my personal experience, stepping inside of a prison for the first time. Yeah, I can't relate. I've never, thank goodness, been arrested for cannabis. But even stepping foot into a prison and just witnessing that firsthand evoked so much emotion in me that I knew that there was something that I needed to do. And so that was really the intention of creating this space, is that, our hope is that people will understand the magnitude. Yeah, it's not the same as being inside of an actual prison, but it alludes to that. And the hope is that the emotion that it cultivates will create a prompt that people can get involved in real time, that you can make a difference as an individual and as part of a collective.
100%. I'm so glad that you made sure that was a part of this exhibit, and I'm excited for everybody to, whoever is in New York, or if you're planning a visit to New York, to come and visit the Stone Age. It's currently going to be there through the end of November, maybe through the holidays.
Yeah, we're really hopeful. We've been getting really positive feedback, and we're hopeful that we can extend through the holidays, just based on the feedback that we've been getting. And, ideally, I don't know, my dream would be to be here as a staple in New York City. And, the idea of one day that this has to all be torn down and rebuilt again in another city is both exciting and disheartening, because, it's always really fun to rebuild, but there is this being our first, and it's like your first child, sending them off to college. That's kind of the feeling I'm getting. But yeah, we'll see. We're really open to the life that this takes on. We've been open for almost a month, and I will say that the responses I've been hearing unanimously are just wow. And as a producer, you can't really predict how people are going to respond to something that's an idea and that you create. And so the ability to witness firsthand people's visceral transformations means that we've done something really impactful, and we are very hopeful to continue to do it all across the country and hopefully globally one day, because the information is so pertinent and it's so necessary. And if we want to create progress, not only in this industry, but through a lot of these other conversations that result through being in this space, then that's something that has far greater purpose than just creating a cool experience in New York City.
100% agreed. You have a special Women in Cannabis event coming up, is that right?
Yeah, so we're doing a Women in Cannabis event, Women in Weed, this upcoming Wednesday. So if you're in New York City, definitely come check it out. We will have some information posted on our social, Welcome the Stone Age, on Instagram, and we're partnering with Etain, which is a female-owned dispensary here in New York, as well as Women Grow. And Honeysuckle is our media sponsor, and I'll be co-hosting with Christina Aducci from House of Puff, which is another female brand that we're going to be featuring in our pop-up shop. And so, yeah, it's been really exciting to for me, being in this industry for about 5 years now and coming from beauty, which is the antithesis of sort of like collaborative female creation, to being in cannabis and seeing the sisterhood and the community aspect of us really coming together as a tribe, wanting to support one another, encourage one another, and really promote one another. And so it's been such a blessing. In our gift shop, we have a focus on female and minority founded brands. So they're on a bi-weekly pop-up basis, and we get to feature local New York, badasses doing their thing, and give them exposure to the mass market consumers.
That's so exciting. I'm so glad that you're doing that and that you're connecting with the women there. I know all of those amazing women, and I just wanted to say that Michael here said, I'm a member of Minorities for Medical Marijuana. This conversation is so important. Also, as a person who has a prior conviction and now stands as an advocate, this is so important to me. Thank you. So
thank you, Michael.
Yes.
Please come say hi if you're in New York. We would love to have you as our guest.
Yes.
If anyone, by the way, if anyone is in New York, we are opening doors to friends and family tonight for a couple of hours, just to, like on a community level, get some other folks involved. So if anyone's in New York City tonight between the times of 7 to 9 p.m. We will be here, 607 Avenue of Americas. Just tell them Sasha sent you. And we will be doing a special friends and family evening where we're just welcoming community members and individuals really curious about what the Stone Age is, to walk through the space and do a little meet and greet with some of the team and some of the artists. So we invite you to come through and have the experience. Otherwise, definitely check us out on thestoneagenyc.com for any upcoming happenings and more information about the Stone Age.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sasha, for the tour, for the conversation, for making this happen. And I'm so excited. I get a chance to see it. Coming up from Portland, Oregon has been a little challenging, just because of COVID and everything. But I have tons of family and friends there. I'll definitely let them know about tonight's event. And yeah, I hope we get to see each other in person sometime. Thanks again for being with us today.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you to your beautiful community for supporting our work. And we're so excited to welcome you here once you make it to the East Coast. And please let us know if we can, help advocate for your work in any way.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Follow them on Instagram and make sure you're following Tokeativity on Instagram and all the things. And hope to see you at an upcoming event. You can RSVP for free for Tokeativity events. They're all digital through June 2022 at tokeativity.com/event. Have a good day, everybody.
Hi, guys. Thanks for
Bye.
joining.
Thank
Bye.
you.